Good evening, everyone, and welcome. This is Twist Gaming, where you get to play board games with us. Coming to you live here from Gen Con 2018, bringing you board game coverage all week long. First up, though, who are we? I'm Matt, as usual, and I am joined here with Evan and AJ from Ryder Games. How you doing today?
Good.
Doing
man.
great.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely.
Early in the week, the hordes haven't arrived yet for the monster that is Gen Con, but
True.
you guys excited?
Oh, we're super
Yeah,
excited.
absolutely. It's going to be huge.
Absolutely. It's have my energy right now still. I know.
Yeah, we
it's
just got it
completely
today.
fine.
We're doing good. So
I
far,
still
so
have
good.
my voice.
Yeah.
Right,
Maybe
right.
A day or two, and I'll be like, hey, Ryder, would you like to buy a game?
I'm glad you came before you lost
Yes.
your voice. So, much appreciation there. So, what have you gentlemen brought to show off for us today?
So this is what we have. We actually have these here at Gen Con. This is our set of graphic novel adventures.
And we got to talk to you a little bit about some of these at Dice Tower Con.
That's correct.
so
this
these
is
were really cool.
this is the awesome slipcover, and we have how many of these? We are selling
50 a day.
We are
Yeah.
selling only 50 of these a day.
So, get to the Van Ryder booth.
Correct.
Yep.
So this is the slipcase, and then it comes with the 5 books.
So, for people that are watching the stream, maybe didn't get a chance to take a look at the Dice Tower Con coverage, can you give us a little overview of what is in this graphic novel adventures box here?
So we have 5 different books with 5 different themes. We have Captive, where you are trying to track down your daughter who's been kidnapped and taken out to a creepy house.
So, that's your traditional horror story
Yes.
there.
We have Sherlock Holmes, where you take on the role of Sherlock Holmes or Watson, trying to solve 4 different investigations.
Oh, so it's an either or.
Yeah,
Oh.
you can play
For each case, yeah, you get to choose.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah, it's really
So,
pretty
and
nifty.
they have different abilities. So Sherlock's a little more challenging, but and Watson gets to ask more questions. So
Gotcha.
we have Your Town, which is a Western town building adventure.
I remember we went over that.
Yeah, you're
one
the
a little
mayor.
bit.
Yeah, it's really cool.
That's super in depth and very customizable. Where we're writing.
Yeah,
Oh,
there's
yeah.
like there's a map in the back. You're choosing which buildings to build and where.
Yeah.
Sometimes they will burn down, or just whole sections of your town can burn down. So it's fantastic. We have Tears of the Goddess, which is more of an adventure. You're a bounty hunter. It's in the mystical Orient, and you're trying to hunt down these 3 thieves who have stolen this precious relic from the temple.
Okay.
And then finally, we have Loup Garou, in which you turn into a werewolf in the beginning of the book. And you have to deal with that, figure out how to do that. There's much more of a role-playing element to it. And
So I like that it's a very unique, not only styles of books, but kind of the view of the book. So like you're playing as Sherlock or Watson in the one, or you're having kind of the create your own town story element where it's very interactive with that one, or the RPG style, as you're saying with Loup Garou there.
yeah, each one has a very different feel to it. But overall, all of them are they're
I'm not sure if they can see in there.
So if you put it on the table there, I can
Oh,
do
yeah.
a little bit of an up close.
ooh.
Yeah, so if people are familiar with Choose Your Own Adventures, these are similar to that, except that it's in a graphic novel.
So it's
So-
not just the computer spitting the text back out at you saying that you walk northwest into the
Exactly. It's
corridor.
not like, hey, do you want to go, if you want to go on the door on the left, turn to whatever. If you want to go on the door on the right, turn to this. It's actually showing you. So like in this garden scene, for example, if you want to talk to the woman, you would just flip to number 56. If you want to explore over here, you would flip to that frame, 320. Some of them will have some of the text leading you in a certain way, or if you want to go back, etc. And this one in particular, like we said, they each kind of use that core system. But like for Loup Garou, you actually have a character sheet, and you're leveling up, getting new abilities. There's a skill tree, so you're actually at the beginning you get to choose one of the skills. This is really small text on that page, so it's harder to see. But yeah, that's how that one works. But each of them's sort of different in how they work. We won't necessarily go into all of them, but each one is different in its own way.
And I remember
And-
when we were looking at the horror one that there's some hidden numbers in there as well
Yes.
for when you're kind of investigating and seeing where to go.
One of
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, one of the cool things about it is that it really rewards looking really closely at the panels and stuff to find the hidden numbers that are buried in there. And so it's really satisfying to pour over a frame, look real closely, and then find the secret hidden number that's just really buried in there. It's a lot of fun.
Very cool.
Yep.
So
There's
only-
puzzles and riddles, and I mean, it's all kinds of different things. It's not just
Not
go
just
this
your
way
run
and something
and
happens. I mean, you're actually interacting with
Yeah.
the book, which is incredible.
Very cool. Only 50 of the boxes, or
Yeah, so we have 50 of the box sets. We'll have a limited amount of each individual book for folks wanting to maybe just pick up one or the
would
other.
you want just one?
Yeah, exactly.
That's a good question.
We're actually expecting most people to want the full set. The people, we did a pre-release like you guys talked about at Dice Tower, and they'd buy one and then they'd come back the next day and get the rest. So we're fully expecting here, especially with the custom slipcase, which is not going to be available in retail.
Yeah.
You can only get that at the convention. So we are definitely expecting, hopefully, very strong sales of these books.
Very good. And what's the average run time? I don't want to say playtime. I don't know if that's the right terminology here for one of these books, one of the stories associated here.
So I mean, runtime is a good way of putting it because in most of these books, as your character, you can die and you'll have to start over, but you'll have the knowledge of sort of what you did last time. You can choose different paths, try to find different hidden numbers maybe you didn't find the previous time. A single run can take, if you die really quickly, it could go real fast, but most I'd say probably average between 1 and 2 hours.
Nice.
And then you're probably looking at, depending on the book, 3 runs would be pretty solid to be able to beat it. So you're
Yeah.
probably looking at between 3 and 6 runs, given
pretty
depending
significant
on
amount of
how it
content
works.
then.
Yeah, you actually get a lot of game out of them. There are some of these in the wild, and they're delivering to backers. Most backers, I think, have them at this point. Some are still showing up, but yeah, we haven't had any real complaints about that was too quick, that was too fast.
No.
Like, people are really enjoying the experience.
And as you're saying, people are coming back for the other stories, so that kind of signifies that they like what they
Yeah,
got first.
I
time.
mean,
a
most
lot of
people get the full set, but
A lot of people who backed and only got 1 or 2 books and are now seeing everyone get all the rest of the books are
Right.
now regretting that they didn't get the extra ones.
yeah, they're playing the one they had, and they're like, oh man,
like,
I wish I would have got all of them. It's just fine. I mean, they are going to be available in retail as well, so they'll be accessible and available for folks to pick them up.
Friendly local game store or specific retailer that you're looking at?
It'll go
or-
through our distributors. We use a fulfillment agent that works with a lot of different distributors. It'll certainly be in FLGSs, especially if folks request them, and make sure their stores
Yeah.
know that they want them.
Absolutely.
Also, Amazon. Hopefully, some of the big box retailers. We don't have any confirmation of that, but we're very hopeful. Particularly, places like Barnes and Nobles. We think
Right.
these can do really well. But I don't know if that's for sure at this point, because that's
Gotcha.
very competitive shelf space, and
Absolutely.
we'll see what happens.
I mean, we're always big proponents here of supporting your FLGS, so definitely go ask them about Graphic
absolutely.
Adventures here from Van Ryder
Yeah,
Games.
absolutely.
Yep, for sure.
So what else have you brought to show off to us today?
All right.
So
I
we'll
see-
talk
I see
about
a
our
bunch of
we'll
stuff
talk about
set
our
up.
other Gen Con release,
Okay.
which we also have here at the con. And this is a board game called The Big Score. Here. Thank you, Sean.
Video magic.
So the Big Score, I'll give the quick overview of this one, and then if we want to open up and look at a few things, we can. This is our heist game. So the designers of this game basically looked at what's available in board gaming and said, hey, we want to make a really great and accessible heist game. Essentially, hey, Ocean's 11, is a
Yeah.
cool movie. Why isn't there a board game for that, or something like that? So that's what their sort of motivation was, and that idea actually started here at Gen Con 4 years ago, I think, 4 or 5 years ago, when Van Ryder, we were a very young company, and Yeah, we were just sitting around talking with a couple of friends of ours from our game group, and the design process sort of started at that point. And now here we are with the actual release here a few years later. So this is actually a very special game for us. But anyways, on to kind of how the game works. It's actually a two-part game. So the first part of the game, you're actually, well, it's kind of, we can show them some of the cards and things. It's a drafting game. So the first part is, if you think about some of those movies I mentioned, you're doing the small jobs, right? So each of you is a crime boss. Okay, we have these each player has a player board. Hopefully, well, all the pieces are in here, but you're going to get your own player board with your own special tokens.
Okay.
Okay? And you're a crime boss, and you have to send your crew out to perform different jobs. Okay? So you're going to have a set of 6 different jobs out on the table that look like this.
Okay.
And you'll notice each job has sort of a different crew requirement. Okay? So you're going to be, each person's going to be drafting different crew in the first half of the game, and there's 3 rounds of that. So you may look out and see, oh, well, you know, only one of these cards needs drivers, so I'm not really going to prioritize drafting drivers because, you know, I'm going to hope that other people will do that. Because the way it works is once you finish drafting, you allocate with these job tokens, numbered 1 through 6. There's going to be 6 jobs on the table. And you're going to take the cards you drafted and place them face down and put one of these tokens on each of them. So Matt, might not know what you're allocating crew towards.
Right.
Evan doesn't, you know, none of us know except for what we're allocating. But I may see, hey, Evan has 3 diamonds. I'm very confident that he's going to keep going for jobs with diamonds on them. So I'm going to sort of maybe play 1 or 2 crew towards that job, and I'm going to anticipate Evan is going to put more towards it.
Okay.
Because the way it works is if you send crew on the job, regardless of how many, and it succeeds, you will get the payout.
Yeah.
However, if it fails, you have to pay for the crew and resources going on a failed job.
Oh.
So you can't just like dump 1 card on each job. You kind of have to anticipate who's going to send crew where. And then some of the really cool moments in the game are created by, we have a jack of all trades. Each player has 1 of these, which is a wild. And the way it works is if we're short 1 crew on a job, let's say me and Matt, you and I went on it.
So, for example, on this job, if you went on the train, and these are the crew, one person put down a driver and the grease man, and another player put down the hacker and the gunman. Well, you fulfilled all of the requirements except for 1 driver. So there's 2 of you on this job, but you are missing 1 crew.
Right.
Right. So assuming we have not used ours yet, we're each going to take our jack of all trades and put it in our hands below the table.
Okay.
And then we're going to decide either, yes, we want to use it by putting it in our hand, or I can put an empty hand and not use it. So if it's at that situation and I want to keep mine for another job, I can sort of like go, okay, do I think Matt's going to use his? And sort of.
Is there like discussion beforehand to try?
You can talk a little bit in that phase during the allocation. There's no
It's
talking.
a lot of lying.
But yeah, you can kind of. I can go. Come on, you really got to do this one. Like you need this one. Like we can
sure,
mess with
I'll
each
do
other.
it. I'm totally in on this.
Yeah.
100%.
I'll sort of goad people when I'm not even part of it. I'll be like, oh, you both guys, you should both do it. You need to make sure.
Get them to
get them to use their token, right? So that creates some really cool moments. So that's kind of a brief overview of how the first half of the game works. And then do you want to set up the bank? So the second half, once you do all the small jobs, you get to keep all of your sort of loot from the first part of the game, but then you're going to do the big score, right? At the end of all these movies, you have sort of the big casino robbery or the big bank robbery where everyone's going all in and you're backstabbing and trying to be the one that sort of gets out with the money, right?
Ends up with the loot at the end, yeah.
Exactly. So in the second half of the game, you're all going to go in the vault, okay? And we have actually a really cool 3D bank that has a magnet enclosure. Instead of you can use the bag if you want.
Yeah, there's a bag as well.
But obviously the bank's so much cooler.
Definitely.
So it's going to have a bunch of tokens in it, and each person's going to pull a token in each round. And you're all going to sit here with your fist out over the table waiting for everyone else to be done, and then you simultaneously will reveal. Okay. There's going to be 5 tokens on what we call the vault floor. So if you got something other than a cop, you can trade if you want with something on the vault floor. However, if you drew a cop, you unfortunately have to put it on the cop track, and that's sort of your timer, right? So the closer that gets to the busted space, the more you are at risk of getting busted. And if you are still in the vault, meaning you drew a token when the last token is placed on the busted space, you lose everything you got from the vault. So timing,
a little press your luck.
Yeah, exactly. It's totally a press your luck element. So the timing of when to leave the vault. Am I ahead? Do I think I'm ahead? Do I think I'm not? Creates a lot of tension and makes for a really exciting ending. And so then after that's done, you add your money and loot from both phases of the game, and whoever has the most wins. Yeah. So that's it. It plays in under an hour at any player count. Typically, once people know it, you're looking at 20 to 40 minutes for a game. Wow. So it goes pretty quick.
And it plays up to 6. So actually, we have a solitaire version, so you can even play it one player. Oh, but really? It will play up to 6, and it plays really well at 6. So this is one of those rare games that really adapts well to the different player counts.
And I'm sure the social interactions of sharing the hired help resources.
Oh yeah, there's a lot more yelling at 6 players.
Yeah, so there's a whole separate rulebook for the solitaire mode. It uses that core system, but is obviously different because drafting and things like that.
Right.
You could, I guess, pass cards to yourself, but that doesn't seem very fun. So there's a card management system, and it actually has different scenarios. There's 9 or 10 different scenarios that you can play. And then also, so here at the con, we have this. Okay, we have we have about 50 a day of this too. If we're not necessarily limiting them per day, so we have about 200. So we'll see what happens. But we do have
even more incentive to get there early on in the convention, not just early in the day.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? You never know what's going to happen at Gen Con. I mean, but we really think once people start playing this, like it's gonna start catching on. But we have a bonus pack that we have our Kickstarter backers to thank for. So like this is actually a poker chip token. As opposed to the cardboard token that comes with the game.
Yeah, right there. So this part is green, I promise.
Yeah. And so here's the cardboard token you can see, which is just a standard punch out and works fine.
Yeah.
But the poker chip's so much cooler. And then you get a couple extra boss boards. There's a mini expansion. So we're going to be giving that to everyone who buys a copy here at Gen Con.
So are the boss boards all different from each other? Or is it like asymmetric player powers there?
The only real difference is at the beginning, if you put that there, you can see you get a choice between 2 different starting resources. So for example, the Mamba can take either 100K at the beginning of the game or a artifact. The other bosses will have another combination of 2. So you'll have that little choice. But other than that, from a mechanical standpoint, they're the same.
Gotcha.
But the bonus bosses I was just talking about in the bonus pack have, instead of a choice at the beginning of a token to take, you get a special ability where, like, for example, one of them I think is there's an element I didn't discuss called training, but they can train a little easier than the regular bosses.
Gotcha.
So definitely, if you're at Gen Con and this sounds interesting to you, come by, check it out. We will be running demos in the booth, and we'd love to show it to you and let folks play.
Very cool. All right, so
I
see some more stuff off to this.
Yes,
you guys lugged a lot.
All right,
of stuff.
so we're to our special announcement portion of the program.
Yeah, we have not.
That everyone's been waiting for.
Do I need a drum roll?
This is an exclusive for you guys. We actually have not. This has not been made public to anyone anywhere.
Hot off the presses.
So my plan was to actually write a press release and get with an embargo, but with obviously everything trying to get ready for Gen Con, that didn't happen. So you guys get a real super exclusive. But yeah, we'll be sort of communicating, promoting this stuff a little more in the very near future.
You got me really excited now. What's the take?
So let's start with what do you want to start with?
Start with the 5 books first.
Okay.
More books?
So we're gonna be doing another set of books.
Yes.
And these that you're looking at here are the French versions. So I don't think we said it before, but these are licensed from a cool company in France that's been doing these things for a few years now. And so these are going to be the next set of 5 that we are going to do.
Yes.
So we're going to be continuing the Sherlock series, actually with 2 more books here.
Nice.
Sherlock and Moriarty, which is really cool. We just got the translation done for that, and I just played it. It's like really awesome.
In which, in the previous Sherlock one we have, you can choose to play as Watson or Holmes, but in this one you have an additional person you can play as, which is as Moriarty.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Yeah, it's really neat. Yeah.
Ooh.
And then this one is Sherlock Holmes and Irene Adler, his longtime tortured love affair partner. And so in this one, you can go back and forth between playing Sherlock or as Irene.
Nice. So you're introducing other characters then to play as well within the kind of choose your own character, choose your own adventures.
Yep. And Sherlock's been really popular, so that we're really excited to sort of bring more of those. And then we have Mystery, which is actually a superhero themed one. So this will be the first one that sort of features superheroes. We're really excited to bring this one out. There's a lot of I love the artwork. I think it's really cool.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that's going to be great. And then
does the superhero one have a unique mechanic in it as well that's that sets it apart from the other ones, or is this really like a story driven one? Because I like superheroes make me think of comic books, and having the graphic novel really just handshakes there.
So one of the tricky things about these is we actually have to get them translated before we can experience them.
Gotcha.
We're in the process of translating these. When
you don't read
Captive, yeah, I wish.
We don't.
When I discovered the line, Captive was really the only one in English, and so I found it, and that's what after playing it and reading it, I was like, man, I want to see if we can do these in English, because it was a very limited print run done in Europe by Blue Orange Europe for Captive, and so and we got talking with them. We discovered, hey, there's all these other ones, but they're only in French right now. So I wish I could talk more about how this one worked, but we don't have the translation done yet.
Gotcha.
But they've all been awesome so far, so I just know they're going to be great. Pirates. So one of the number one questions we get about these books is, are they kid friendly? Okay,
Right.
and
while the Sherlock Holmes books are generally kid appropriate, although they
Right.
have some murders and stuff, they're not too gratuitous. Most of the other books definitely skew much more adult.
Gotcha.
yeah, and the first 5, I mean, they're the first 5 of the set we showed you. The only ones we really recommend, like even considering it for a younger person, is Sherlock. The other ones have some,
Adult
just some
themes
more
to
adult
them.
stuff. Yeah, and that's a parental decision, obviously. So really, we say, hey, read them yourself first and decide, what you think's appropriate for your kids.
Right.
But Pirates is kid friendly out of the gate. So we're really excited about that. This is actually going to be, so there's 2, as you can see, and it's a 2-part. One, the second one continues off from where the first one ended. So we're really excited to bring that to our audience because, like I said, that question has been one of the main ones we've gotten. So we are glad to be able to sort of offer, hey, this is something, we can actually, without sort of those caveats, say, hey,
Right.
great for your kids. If you want one for kids, pick up Pirates.
And these ones have great, colorful, really vibrant art.
Yeah, the
So-
colors really pop in that one as
They're
opposed
really
to like
neat.
I know that you have with some of the more adult themed ones, you have the dark gritty tone to it.
Yeah, you have different palettes. Like Yorktown is like a sepia palette, and then Captive is kind of a, I don't know what you'd call that, monochromatic, or it's more of a
Like a
Captive has
noir.
a faded look. Yeah, noir look. Yeah, great way of putting it. So if anyone's watching out there that is familiar with our books already and was wondering what we're going to do next, here you have it. We will be doing more broad announcements of this, and to our backers, our newsletter audience, and to the press in general. But this is our first time sort of showing, and we actually have more coming. So this will not be the end either, but obviously a lot of work to go, and then we'll, when we get to that point, we'll announce the next set. But we're insanely excited about these. So we'll have these at Gen Con if anyone wants to sort of come peek at them. We're happy to sort of show. It's obviously in French, so unless you speak French, you won't be able to read them, but you can do that. All right, and then last but certainly not least, go ahead. You can do this one, Evan. I'm gonna lose my voice like you were talking about.
This is our graphic novel adventure cooperative game that's coming out.
Ooh.
And again, this is the French version, but we are super close to having finished all of the English translation, and we'll have this done very soon. So this is called BAM, and in it actually comes with, first there's this great map. You have to use
this.
Oh, that map. I thought you were talking about me for a second.
No, map.
Oh.
Also,
Matt.
you are a great Matt.
Oh, thank you.
But you do not come in this box, unfortunately.
I don't.
Maybe we can work on an exclusive deal.
We'll talk about it off the air.
But in this, there are 4 characters that are all kids and they're all treasure hunters. And each player chooses a different book, and you read concurrently. And so you could be, this is Gabby, this is Kick, this is Netta, and this is Sarah. And they all have different special abilities. Kick is kind of he'll bust walls down. Gabby is good at solving puzzles. Sarah is good at talking to animals, and Netta is really tall and agile. And so, in these books, a lot of the panels are exactly the same, but some of the panels are specific to those characters.
Right.
So as you're reading together. So, for example, Gabby might spot something in one of her panels that the other ones won't actually see at all. And so as you're playing, you're actually talking through it, and Gabby will say, hey, guys, I think there's like a secret passageway behind this rock. And everybody's like, I don't see anything. But Gabby will say, oh, hold on, I'm going to check it out. And she'll turn to the number in her book and say, yes, there is a secret passageway. Everybody turn to panel 67. We're all going to go through the passageway.
That's such a unique way of having individual player powers in there, by having them have like a limited scope so that they're forced to work together. And then I could also see how that kind of gets rid of any sort of alpha gaming aspect.
Oh,
as well.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
And the puzzles in these games are actually really difficult and complex. Some of them you will not be able to solve your first. You'll have to play multiple times to even be able to solve some of them. However, I've played with my kids who are like 6 and 8. And even though they can't solve all the puzzles, they get such a kick out of playing each book and trying to spot. They're like, Dad, I can talk to this animal. Like one of my daughters was playing Sarah, and there's like a little number next to the bat. She's like, Dad, I can talk to the bat. And the bat says we should not go down the leftmost passage. And sure enough, if you go down the leftmost passage, you like fall into a pit and you lose all this other stuff. And so the kids had an absolute blast doing it. But then my wife and I were also playing with them, had a blast trying to solve the puzzles. And so it works really well for adults, and it also works really well with kids too.
And actually, so a couple things to add to that. It scales well, so you can play with just 2 players.
Yeah.
And we're each going to take a book. Obviously, there will be certain characters we don't have, and some puzzles actually, puzzles or paths, you need a certain character to be able to do it. So, but the book accounts for that in sort of the scoring system. So, like, if you're playing 2-player and you don't think you have the right character, it's no big deal. There's always sort of a way forward. So you'll kind of bypass that.
It's not possible to play through it without all 4 people.
No, not at all. Yeah, you could totally take
solo.
Yeah,
really?
and it works. It works fine. Like me, Evan, and Sean played 3-player, and so there was one of the characters we didn't have, and we just had an absolute blast with it.
Because oftentimes on certain puzzles there are multiple paths through. So for example, if you need to get into the fortress, Kick can knock the wall down, but Netta can also climb over the wall, and Gabby can solve the puzzle on the door to get in. So even if you're not playing with 2 of them or only one of them, there's multiple paths to potentially solving that puzzle.
Very cool.
So the goal is, which we haven't talked about yet, but you're trying to gather this treasure. So each of the books, if you could see it, has little rubies and pearls and statuettes on them. Those are the different types of treasure you're looking for. So when you solve a puzzle, or if you see a hidden number, it could take you to a panel that says, hey, you found 2 rubies, a pearl, and a statue. Great. Or you may just see a ruby on the ground, and it's kind of hidden somewhere in the frame, and you'll just pick it up, say, hey guys, I found a ruby under the bush. Do you guys see that or not? And so some of the books, a character may find something that no one else can find, and it's just really cool and takes the sort of system that we have with the graphic novel adventures and makes it a multiplayer experience, which again, that's another thing a lot of people have sort of asked about and wondered, hey, do you read these together? Which obviously the books are sort of a single player experience, but we do have some people that, they'll sit and play with their kid or their significant other. Well, this is actually ingrained into the game where you're doing that, and it's really kind of cool to hear about, oh, what can you see, what can you do, and you're working together to solve the puzzles, which is fun. In some cases, there's a few times where like me and Evan's character may be in one room, and Matt, you and the other character are in another room, and maybe we have communication, maybe we don't, but it's cool. And then there are multiple islands to explore, so it's not like you actually get a full game experience from each island. So even when you're done sort of playing the first time, you have a whole other island to explore.
Yeah, there.
Exactly.
That's really cool, though, as the point you brought up before of just having the interaction of having a multiplayer version, because that's obviously one minor drawback that you would have for these solo novels that you guys have out, as it's such a unique medium. It's so cool to play as, and now you've made it even more unique by opening it up into a multiplayer experience. So I thought that's really awesome.
Yeah, and I wish we could sort of take credit for the design, but we certainly can't. This is, again, from our great partners in Europe, and we're very proud and honored to be able to sort of bring the English version over. So this is something we're still working out, whether we're going to do a Kickstarter or go to retail, or what our product strategy is going to be. But we are very close to, like Evan, obviously we've played it and we've got the translation, the first pass of the translation's done. It's just a matter of cleaning things up, and but like Evan said, we're very close. So I don't have any dates to give you or times necessarily, but again, like the other books, we'll be making some announcements and sort of firming some of that up. But we did sort of want to kind of officially share that we will be bringing BAM over for English speakers.
Yeah.
Very good. So where can our viewers go to get a little bit more information about when this game will come out as we're progressing closer and closer to a release date?
Yeah, so you're definitely going to want to sign up for our mailing list on vanrydergames.com, and that's spelled like you see on the shirt, VANRYDER. And just get on our newsletter. We make announcements there. We're very active on Twitter. We talk a lot about things on that medium as well. Or just send us a message from our contact form. We're always like hearing from customers or prospective customers, fans, friends, anyone. Or come by the booth and talk to. Really, like, we're pretty open about what we're doing with what we can share. But yeah, the newsletter is the best way to sort of get our announcements of when things are happening. Yeah.
And we'll also have these at the booth, so if you are here and you do want to come by and take a look at it, absolutely, please do.
And we may
try it out.
That's right.
Well, we have the English
we actually have the
versions they're like in binders because we just sort of print them out. We may actually do a few. We'll see if we get any interest level from people watching or coming by. We may do a few demos to start to get some customer sort of experience with it, and they can tell us what they think. So
nice. Anything else that we want to touch on today while I have you here, gentlemen?
No, I think we've
that's
about
covered it.
Yeah, I think that covers it. Yeah, appreciate you guys letting us come talk to you and show off what we're doing.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining us today. We really do appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Matt.
And thank all of you for watching at home. Stay tuned for more coverage coming throughout the week here at Gen Con 2018. But signing off for now, I'm Matt. Have a good one, everyone.